Hey everybody, Eric here from TOOLBX, founder CEO. We're here for another episode of Heard from a Pro. Today we're featuring Larry Clay from Clay Construction. He's been in the business for over 20 years, custom home builder based out of Vancouver, British Columbia. Welcome to the show, Larry. Thanks for joining.
Well, thanks, Eric. Wonderful to be here.
So we're going to get right into it, and we're going to go back to the early days of Clay Construction. Would love to learn a little bit more about you and what's your story and what brought you to construction.
Well, my dad and my uncle, they both built their own homes, and in my mind, that was just something every man had to do was build their own home. So I originally, my first career was a teacher, and I taught for 17 years. But I would build on the side. I would build a home, we'd move into it, then I'd build again. And then I had friends say, "Why don't you build a house, a spec house? I'll finance it, you build it, and we'll split the profit." I said, "That was wonderful." And I'm still teaching. And we made money, and more people jumped on and said, "Well, you're an expert, build me a house." And I had 8 houses to build. And so I decided that now's the time. I'm leaving teaching, and I love teaching. It was risky. I had 6 kids, so to give up a secure income with a wife, 6 kids, was taking a chance. And so I just jumped into it. Has not always been easy. We're primarily spec builders. 2008 was difficult for spec builders. I had to reinvent myself as a custom builder. So as a spec builder, you're selling a product. As a custom builder, you're selling a service. It's a whole different way to market yourself. So back in 2008 is when I started working um, on building a brand to be a custom builder.
Amazing to hear. And a lot of builders actually start out with the spec build. They do a few projects for themselves, they finance it, they do some development, and then they get really good at it and they build start to build some good quality, so they sort of shift into custom home building. That's how a lot of top builders have done it. When you're building a project for a customer, what does the Clay Construction service entail, and how do you sort of structure your company to manage those projects?
Okay, that's a big, big question. I got so much to say here. Um, so first of all, a custom builder and a spec builder is like grass hockey, ice hockey, both still hockey, but they're different. And so, in my experience, spec builders are not very good at doing a budget. They'll tell you what it costs at the end. And now, spec builders generally have to sell these homes, save money, and they'll save money on areas that you don't see. And so but a custom builder doesn't have that luxury because the clients are coming through the home at foundation. They're looking at the foundation being poured, foundation being stripped, the drain tile, the the damp proofing, the framing. They're looking at all this, and so the custom builder has to be able to show quality all the way through. So that's the product. Business systems are so different as a custom builder. You got to be able to, first of all, you're not just selling it. You got to have a contract. You got to have specifications. You got to have a budget based on those specifications. You got to have a schedule. You got to be able to communicate. You got to have the ability to write change orders so that people are not making changes and then surprised by the final number. There's business systems that you need to be able to employ to give your clients a fun experience, because building a house is an experience, and a good custom builder will make that a fun, stress-free experience.
It's also how you sell the business and take it from start to finish, and pulling back the curtain and showing what Larry Clay and Clay Construction is all about. I mean, you've got a pretty cool curtain behind you. Is there a story there?
Well, there is a story there. The Canadian Home Building Association has their national awards, and the people who hand out the awards are going to be the CEO and the president. This is my year as president, and so Kevin Lee, the CEO, and myself are handing out awards. But he's in Ottawa, and I'm out here in Vancouver, and so we had to look like we're in the same room.
Awesome. Digging into you being the president of the Custom Home Builders Association. You know,
Canadian
sorry,
Association.
Canadian Home Builders Association. What kind of challenges have you guys had to tackle this year or last year, and sort of how does that reflect on a national scale? Topics like supply chain and certifications, but are there any key areas that have been challenging for you guys to overcome?
Well, supply chain, labor force, these are always challenges. COVID, doing Zoom, and not having our meetings, those are challenges that we face. But on a probably a broad scale, one of the things I've learned from being my involvement with national is the emphasis on affordability. Now, now we build luxury custom homes. We do high performance, and 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 our homes are typically between 1 million and 3 million. That's build cost, no land. So I can illustrate this best with a story. I was a few years back. We built a house in Vancouver, and I had my energy advisor tell me what is it going to take to hit step one, two, three, four, and five, and then I priced out each step, and it was about $50,000 at the time to hit step five. And so I was talking to a gentleman, a builder in Newfoundland, Greg Hussey, and I said, "Yeah, $50,000 to hit step five." And he says, "Larry, there is no way I could sell that here. I sell my homes in Newfoundland for $220,000, and that's house and lot." I went, "Holy cow, that's crazy. There's no way I could do that." And so um, I was telling Eric Denoud, and he was president about 4 years back, national president, and I was telling him the story. And he says, in Ontario, we sell our homes for 290,000 house and lot. And it struck me that if we go too fast down this road, a lot of builders would be out of work because their region cannot afford this level of upgrade. Now it's important. High performance is important, but I'm looking for ways to be able to build high performance for you know similar amount to how we're building homes now. Affordability is important. It's you know that agenda is important. High performance is important. Protecting heritage homes is important. Not taking stuff to landfill is important. So how do we build in a way that we are being sustainable and stewards of what we have here?
So, in terms of like if you've got sustainability, if you've got supply chain, if you've got certifications, if you've got net zero, I mean, the association probably couldn't tackle all those things at the same time. How do you guys sort of figure out which areas to focus on at what point in time?
It's a pretty large association, so believe it or not, we focus on all areas because we have staff that focus on net zero. We have staff that focus on different areas in government relations. But it allows the builders in our wide nationals, like over 9,000 companies that are members. So it allows our association, the builders, to um, choose that area that best suits them. And I think the national home builders, it's a common voice. They just keep pounding away. Let's not put all of this into regulation. Let's let the the industry figure out the proper ways to build. Let's let the products come along to join us, and so that by 2032 we can hit step five. But we're not going to have a whack of unintended consequences in homes that have vapor barriers, dew points, wrong places, condensation in walls, poor air quality in homes. So these are things that we're concerned about.
There's one more question on this topic. Certifications. There's a lot of builders that claim to be builders. There's a lot of people getting into the construction industry that don't have a ton of experience. Maybe they don't have schooling. Maybe they've never worked on a job site. How do we create, or how is the association thinking about creating more certifications around that quality? Because homeowners really don't know what's behind the walls until maybe it's too late. So there's a lot of buildings that are getting built. Is there a form of certification or licensing that you're looking to roll out nationally, or is it more province by province?
Yeah, more province by province. So we have with our provincial province, we have CHPA BC, and they have a suite of courses that you can become a registered housing professional and then a master builder. Um, so that's as close we have to being certified. BC Housing in BC is responsible for making sure builders are licensed. They're taking their continued professional development courses. And that's going to be a role of BC Housing. Also, the warranty company will come and do inspections as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you see that getting rolled out into other provinces? Because it seems like Vancouver is a little bit more advanced from some of these certifications and master builder associations.
Yeah, I'm going to say BC is advanced, and Vancouver's advanced in other ways, but BC is advanced. In fact, we had a lady, Wendy Atchison. She was at BC Housing. She implemented. She was the driving force behind making sure that builders are licensed and that they're taking continued professional development courses, CPT points. And so she, after I don't know 20 some years, she got scooped up by Ontario, who said, "We want to do what you guys are doing in BC." So they've hired her.
Maybe you can just dive into a little bit, like what is net zero? What is passive homes? For the audience that maybe doesn't know, the different nuances of high performance products. Would love to get some insights there.
Sure. So net zero, essentially, over the course of a year, you've produced as much energy as you've consumed. That's essentially what it is. So you got to have on-site energy production. Generally, it's going to be solar, but could be others like wind. Um, so that's net zero. So you have to have a focus on building envelope for starters, because about half of your energy is going to be space heating. And so if you can eliminate that, then you're well on your way to reducing the load. Passive houses have a very rigorous building envelope, and so you focus on a number of things like thermal bridging. So you want to make sure your just give an example. You got a stud wall. You put insulation on the inside. Let's just say you have R20 insulation, 2x6 walls, 16-inch on center, and is your wall R20? No, it's like closer to R16, R15 and a half, because the studs themselves, you got about 24% of your wall is wood, and the wood's about R6. So when you average it out, it's about R15 and a half. So we call that the R20. It's not an R20 wall if you put R20 bat in. So we call nominal wall is going to be R20. The effective wall would be R15 and a half. So what we're trying to do is build effective wall assemblies that are going to be um, they're going to be closer to R30. So Vancouver right now has effective R22, and you can do that with 2x6 walls, R22 bat, and say an inch and a half of rigid insulation on the outside. That gives you an effective R22. Passive takes that further, and you will see, depends on your climate zone, closer to R30, R35, and higher in northern climates. Air tightness is another huge key, and that's probably the low hanging fruit. And I I remember when I used to, back in 2010, I started to see online passive house builders, and they're talking about what key lock set do you use on your front door? Because this one has greater leakage. I go, you got to be kidding me! Like, you're talking about lock sets and you're worried about air leakage. Like, I couldn't believe it. But the standard for passive houses is zero point 0.6 air changes per hour. That's very low. Net zero is going to be 1 air changes per hour. When Vancouver did a study about 5 years ago, they found that the average brand new home was sitting about 5.5 air changes per hour. And they've moved that down. I think now we have to hit 3.5 air changes per hour in Vancouver. So the focus on on air tightness is huge, because if you can take your air changes from 3.5 to 1, you cut your heating load in half. So it's a great place to start.
Now you mentioned products like Siga and all these new innovative products coming to market. How do you guys learn about the products? How do you guys find the products? Do the products come to you? Like, what's all involved in finding all these amazing new products that are hitting the market?
Yeah, you know what? You can. It's easy to find. I mean, you can Google it and it's going to come up. You're going to see. You're going to find them at home shows. You're going to have the salespeople contacting you. Yeah, if they're out there, it's easy to find.
Changing gears a little bit over to brand and, the clay way, clay construction, what are some insights that you can share with the audience of developing a strong brand as a home builder? Like, what are some areas that you would recommend builders start to build a great brand?
Sure. Well, I started going down a path, and it's not until you get near the end that you look back and you say, I did some things well. Here's what worked. And so if I had a chance to go back to my younger self, I would say this. And I tell young builders, if you want to develop a brand, focus on three things. And it was leadership, awards, and education. So education, study all you can, take courses. You want to be that expert. What are better building practices? Understand wall assemblies. How do you get air tightness? You want to be that local expert on all of those items. So somebody has a question for you, you have an answer. Like you've studied. And so the Home Building Association has a whole suite of courses, whether local, provincial, national. So if you want to take courses, you want to learn, uh, there's lots of opportunities. So that's education. The second one is going to be awards. A lot of our clients are looking for award-winning builders, and it just says that you're operating at a high tier, and your homes have some wow. And so you want to win awards. And I think the big awards around here would be, certainly you got local, you got Haven, you got provincial, the Georgies, and you got the National Housing Awards of Excellence. And the last is leadership. If you're a leader and you're leading other builders in the industry, homeowners feel more comfortable with you. There's a sense of accountability. My recommendation, if you want to build a brand, you want to be focusing on those three areas.
And in terms of education, I want to just spend a little bit of time here. Um, you know, People that learn on the job site is extremely valuable. And I don't think you could get everything out of a textbook. You know, where do you see the balance of courses and schooling education versus picking up tools, working on a site, doing some labor and working your way up that way?
Yeah, both are needed. When I started my company, I was a one man show for like first 12 years. I did now. When I say one man show, I mean I didn't frame, I didn't but I would do cleanup. And when we started, and I'd go in with my pouch and and I would be doing back framing and my own landscape and my own tile. That's how I started. But as we grew and we're doing more homes, I couldn't do it. So I had laborers come in and I oversaw the laborers, the carpenters. I did the hiring, the firing, from the employees to the trades to signing every check, doing every budget. And so I did it all. And then as we grew, eventually I had to hire people to help me. Uh, but it's really important that everything is not just by way of textbook, because that's important. You gotta understand this stuff. But there's other things like Murray Frank has a little school in Port Coquitlam, and he teaches people hands on. He says, I want you to prepare this window. We're going to install the window. You prep it, do the rod and caulk, do it all, and then we're going to test that window, see how well you did, see if it leaks. So they have this pressurization, putting water on it, and you can see it, man, it's leaking all over. And so he says, let me show you another way, a better way. So he'll actually doing it. So it's really important that you be able to do both. And you're not going to be the expert in everything. My framer knows more about framing than me. My electrician knows more about doing electrical than I do. But I know enough to be able to guide them, lead them, and I know what good quality looks like.
So shifting over to technology and adopting technology to help your business run more efficiently, what kind of tools have you guys implemented to really streamline your business, and have you seen a shift in technology over the last few years?
Yeah, so we use a project management software that's online. and that helps us to store all of our documents. It helps us prepare an estimate, send it off to trades. We can see trades then log back in. They upload their estimate. They will put the number into the program. We do daily logs, so on site we can take a video, pictures, speak to text, give a little description of what's happening, and so that's what we do for project management. It just simplifies, it makes it more professional, keeps everything in house. Everybody's looking at the same documents, but you need somebody who's going to be an expert on this software and can manage it. And I have my Daniel who's able to do that, and he takes care of all that back end, so I don't have to worry about it. So if somebody wants an estimate, I send Daniel the plans. He's able to get that off to my trades and suppliers like quickly.
What kind of time has that reduced for you guys when it comes to doing budgets and estimates?
Well, so when I did things old school way, I would do cut and paste, link to Dropbox. Here's the plans. So cut and paste what the framer gets, cut and paste what my cabinet maker gets, my flooring guy gets, and everybody gets something different. I had to find out for this project, I want these people bidding, but not those ones. And it would take me about 6 hours to get that all prepped and out to everybody. And then I wait for them all to come back in again. With this project management software, I can send Daniel the set of plans, and he can have it off in minutes because we've taken all of these cut and paste elements and it's in a template we have now. It took a long time to get it all in, but now that it's making us more efficient.
Now that makes total sense. And, you know, gearing over to Toolbox specifically, because, Daniel has been using the software and, you know, any insights into how a software like Toolbox has helped you guys on site, saving time, hours, etc.?
Yeah, so I talked to Daniel about that. He just says Toolbox has been fantastic. He says, I just call him Sunday night, boom. And next thing you know, in the morning it comes. It's worry free. We can use the suppliers that we have that relationship with. So it's been fantastic. I personally, my role in the company, I don't use it, but Daniel does use it.
Yeah, and for those listening, Daniel is the project manager that manages all the sites. And how many sites would you have a project manager take on at any given time?
So we use two terms. We have site managers. So a site manager, depending on the house, might be just one site manager for a large custom house. If it's two medium houses, it might be say two, or one guy might they do three if they're in relatively same area. We have a project manager who can take on more because he's mainly doing the schedules, the budgets, change orders, really procurement of trade supplies, tracking light fixtures, plumbing fixtures. So that's what a project manager for us does, and they might have a half a dozen.
No, that makes total sense. A lot of builders call me and say, "Hey, how did you structure out a site super versus a project coordinator versus a project manager?" And a lot of it comes down to the skills of the individuals as well. The way I like to do it is project management is more of the coordination, hiring of trades, budget, and we'll lay out an initial schedule, but the role of the site supervisor and site manager is more schedule and quality focused. um, I always like to have the site manager own the schedule and really be part of the schedule, to really ensure that the deadlines are being hit. So bringing them into the process is something that helped me when I was building as well.
Site manager, project manager need to be communicating daily. That's I would agree.
Yeah, totally. And in terms of, your philosophy for a productive job site, anything you'd like to share for the audience to, if you could wave a magic wand and get housing timelines from, 15 months down to like 10 months, assuming that supply chain is not an issue, what are some things that, you know, if you could wave a magic wand and everything was the way you'd want it, how could you reduce timelines on a construction site?
Well, first of all, you're going to have you got to make a move to to prefab at some point. And so I think prefab is going to be one. It's going to be one element that is going to improve timelines and quality. So prefab is number one. Number two, we might have to start changing up how we do things. One area that I'm investigating, Murray Frank is doing this in Ashnola. He has a net zero build. He's using screw piles, and so he uses for his current house in Ashnola, beautiful big. Um, I'm not going to call it a cabin because it's too nice to be a cabin. He has 12 points, and the amount of concrete. So now you're talking about less of a carbon footprint. So the concrete would be about this big, like I don't know, foot by a foot, and inches deep. 12 of those, and so you don't have drain tile now. Your city services can be higher. You're not having damp proofing concrete in the basement. So that would be one way. I'm in some situations, screw piles prefab, you can be at lockup within from getting to the site. I think Murray did the screw piles in 2 days, prefab the stuff on the floor assembly beams, etc. You could be at lockup in I think he's like 10 days.
And how about from just a selections perspective, ensuring that clients, select everything they need, architect designs are all done in advance. Like how much of that pre-construction work can impact the schedule down the line?
Yeah, you know what? If you can have all those selections made, it just means that we can throttle ahead. We don't have to be. We're not stopping. And I mean, these things that we're doing a house in Vancouver, and you want to talk about delays, and it's renovation. So we gutted it. Following it, we got permits, um, all being designed. We gutted it, changed all the layouts, and it's a really nice Russian couple. Just love them. And he comes in and he goes, you know, this is great, but it's an 8 foot ceiling. I hate 8 foot. I say, well, there's not much I can do about an 8 foot ceiling. It is what it is. This is renovation. It's not a new build. And he says, even 2 inches, 2 inches in Europe, 8 foot houses, ceilings, they're garbage houses. So I just give me more height. And so we ended up saying, well, I could probably scissor all the joists and maybe we can cut off 2 inches. And yeah, do that. I said, are you worried about cost? No. I said, it's really labor intensive. Doesn't matter. Do it. And so we kept talking and looking at other options. And finally, we just said, let's just go for revisions with the city. And we're going to just lift the second story up. We're going to remove all of the 8 foot walls, and we're going to build 9 foot walls. So he got not only 2 inches, he got a foot. And so, we stalled for. So you want to talk about the implications of making changes? There's one of them. Now he's very happy, but it's slowing. So as a company, when you have your staff laid out, and then that right in the middle stops, it does impact your company. So I prefer to have it all laid out, the selections, the design. Let us fly.
Totally. Well, that wraps up. Heard from a pro. I think we've got some really good insights from someone that's been doing this for more than 20 years. Someone that's built over 100 custom homes across the Greater Vancouver area, and someone that has won countless awards and teams. So really appreciate the time, Larry. Thanks for giving us all those insights, and looking forward to continuing the conversation, shooting some more videos, and continuing to educate builders, clients, and the whole industry on making buildings better. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Eric. It's been a pleasure to be with you.